It's time for the latest NEC Hoops Coaches Call. I'm Craig D'Amico, and today I am here with the first-year head coach from the LIU Sharks women's basketball program. It's Neil Harrow. Neil, thank you for taking the time to join us today on the Coaches Call.
Thanks for the invite.
We're excited to speak with you, first-year head coach. Certainly, things are very exciting out there in Brooklyn with how the Sharks have been playing so far, and we'll get into all that. But for those that are new to Neil, let's go over his resume real quick. He's a native of East Kilbride, Scotland. He was hired as the 13th LIU women's basketball head coach back in the spring. He spent 3 years as an associate head coach at James Madison, time in the WNBA with the LA Sparks in the summer of 24, and also has spent time as an assistant and other stops along the way. Coached men's basketball in Spain as well. So we're going to get into his coaching journey a little bit more. But, Coach, let's start with the here and now. We just passed, as we're recording this, the halfway point of league play. LIU is currently second in the standings. Magic number is 1 to clinch a playoff spot. So what's the biggest takeaway for you here in year one at the halfway point of conference play?
Biggest takeaway. There's been so many takeaways.
I'm
But
sure.
biggest takeaway is every game presents its own challenge, and just finding a way, no matter what happens, just for us to continue to compete. That's been the biggest takeaway. Just find a way each week, with regardless of the challenges that are ahead of us.
How have you seen the team evolve? And I'm sure as we'll get to it later on. You know, you've had to bring in players from all over the place to construct this roster. So putting them all together and seeing them kind of grow as the season goes along. How have you seen them evolve over the first 3 months or so of the season?
It was really interesting. We just played Central Connecticut for the second time in the season, and that was our first conference game. So there was several games in between, and watching that game, our first game back from weeks and weeks ago, you can tell by watching that game that we have improved, right? Our tempo has improved, our understanding of our roles has improved, our sharing the ball has improved, defensively, even though I keep I stay on my players about defense. It has improved. I feel like there's days where I feel like it hasn't, but it has. So yeah, we really have. I think shot selection has really improved, and sharing the ball has really improved. We've had a couple games recently with like 20 assists, and I think that was not happening earlier in the year. So yeah, there's been a lot of things that have evolved and improved, but those come to mind.
I want to go and kind of talk about the FDU game in particular because they were picked unanimous number one. So that means everybody voted for them, including
Yeah.
you. But when you played them, that was almost like the first test. You brought in all these players, had some success early on, but it was almost like, all right, but now let's see how they go up against this big test against the preseason number one. And it was a close game, came down to the final seconds, just fell short. But in that measuring stick kind of game, what were some of the lessons that you could kind of take out of that to go forward in your season? When you play any team, next time you see FDU, what were some of the lessons that you got out of that?
A few things that not to disagree, but I do feel like we've been tested every game in a different way. Like there's good teams, there's really good coaches. Each team has really good players. I thought Mercyhurst going into the Mercyhurst game, I knew that we were going to have to be really, really good. And obviously that's not the only game, but yeah, of course FDU is the standard right now in the conference and has been. Coach Gately is the standard in coaching and has 700 and something wins. So you go into it with just a ton of respect, but no fear. Like
Right.
I felt like going into the game, you know how you feel and you know how your staff feels, but I think you never really know how your team truly feels. And in the run up to the game, the couple days beforehand, we really the the players didn't. There was no feeling of we can't win or like fear, or they really felt like they were going to be right there, and we were. So I think that's the biggest positive is going into the game. We felt like, yeah, you're going to have to play well. But I told the girls, I said, you don't need to be perfect. You have to be good. You have to be really good, but you don't have to be perfect. It's not going to be it doesn't take a flawless performance. But yeah, you're going to have to be really, really good because FDU is so disciplined on both ends of the floor. They take good shots. They make you work. Coach Gately exploits Anything, mistakes you make, they're going to make you pay. And then on the defensive end, the same. They're so disciplined. You're going to have to earn baskets. But yeah, I thought I was disappointed in the result, but proud of our mental approach. I mean, we won. We came out really, really hot, which tells you a lot. Um, Ready to play. Like I said, no fear. So I was proud of how we showed up. And I think losing by one, um, I think definitely showed us that, you know what, just clean a couple of things up. And there was plenty of mistakes. From my standpoint, from the players, we made mistakes, right? So you feel like you clean a few things up, and again, you're gonna have to go over there, and you're gonna have to be really, really good. But you don't have to be perfect.
I think you said it right. In this league, there are no off nights. Every game is definitely its own challenge.
Yeah.
With FDU just specifically, you're right. You guys went in with no fear. You were right there at the end. So I think we're all excited to kind of see you guys match up again. Coming up at the end of the season, and then who knows? Maybe in March we'll see.
Yeah.
But let's go back to the beginning with your kind of coaching journey. As you mentioned, came from Scotland. So at what point did you kind of realize, like, hey, basketball and United States, when did that kind of start forming in your mind that was a goal or possible for you?
My high school coach, Davey Turner, lived he was also my club coach in Europe. You play on clubs. High school basketball it's a thing, but it's clubs mostly. And he lived really close to my high school. So after school, we would practice or whatever. And like there were days where I would watch film with him of other teams, and we started to watch American high school basketball teams. And you're looking at these high school games, and there's 3 or 4 thousand people in the stands, and they look like NBA players already. And the standard was so good, and there was intro videos, and there was mascots, and the fans were. I'm like, I want that. Like, I want American basketball. I want the highest of the highest, where there's the most opportunity, the most resources, the most excitement and buy-in and investment and all these different things. Um, and I think I was young. I must have been 16 when I
Wow.
really realized, like, I want that. And I played in Scotland, I played in Spain, but I knew my playing career wasn't going to be tremendous. I was also vertically challenged. So yeah, I thought, like, all right, well, there, there's more opportunities to coach than there are to play for me. So yeah, I think early on I set my goals really, really high, which I try and tell my players to do. Like, if you're going to set some goals, set them so high they scare you a little bit. Um, so yeah, set some really high goals. Started off with like seeing teams like Bishop O'Connell, like who have produced NBA players. Seen them on film. I don't know how he got the tape, but then we would watch like Duke, North Carolina college games. And I was like, this is unbelievable. So, yeah, just from a young age. And then when I was in Spain, I got to see like really, really high level club basketball. And I just thought, like, yeah, let's do that. Let's do that.
And so, coming over to the United States to coach, we mentioned a couple stops, and previously you were at James Madison. You were there, I believe, overlapping at the same time with Kurt Signetti, who just won a national championship for Indiana football. So I'm wondering if there was anything that you kind of got from him, or if you guys kind of ran into each other, or if you have any stories about that.
Ran into each other a few times, was able to observe his work. And I think Kurt Signetti just, and it's obvious now, but like the guy just wins, and he wins with a calmness and a preparation that and in a similar way to Kurt Miller, and Sean at James Madison who I was working for,
Sure.
Sean O'Regan. There's a consistent level of just eyes forward and like focus on your team, focus on the process, and focus on what it takes to win. And all three of those people that have a lot in common, they just focus on keeping the main thing the main thing. I think. No, I don't claim to know Signetti well, but just the observations I've had from him, his team just becomes like a machine. And they just this it's consistent preparation. It's keeping the main thing the main thing. And I think the big thing about Signetti's teams are they expect to win.
Yeah.
And that was really interesting. I remember watching the end of the Penn State game where their backs were against the ropes this year, Indiana football, and then the last second, I was texting with my friend who's a big football guy, and I'm like, they're gonna win because Signetti wins. He just wins. Um, and his team kind of played with that level of expectation of like no panic, like we're gonna win. So yeah, it was really cool to watch. I've been fortunate. Mark Byington was with us at JMU on the men's basketball team, men's basketball coach. He's now at Vandy, setting records at Vanderbilt men's basketball. When I was at Troy, we had John Summerall, who's now the football coach at Florida, via Tulane. I've been really blessed to just sort of observe really, really high level coaches. And all I wish is that I'd paid more attention and spent more time
Right.
just taking notes and stuff. But just being around winning and being around success and being around process driven people that do it the right way, is really a gift.
So, I'm sure as you're going through, you mentioned all those names from multiple sports, that you kind of been maybe a little bit influenced by, as a
Yeah.
young assistant. But now, you finally get that head coaching position. And I'm sure there were all these things that you're like, okay, if I ever become a head coach, I want to do this, or I'm thinking about this. So
Yeah.
what were some of those things that you've kind of been waiting to implement on your own program that now you've been able to with LIU?
I mean, I think every aspiring head coach has a list of lessons, a list. I've got a note section in my phone that and yeah, you have a plan of all these things you're going to try to do, and you just try and do as many of them as you can, and then you realize that, okay, I thought this was going to work and it didn't. I thought this was going to work and it did. And I think the big thing that I've been blessed to be around between Coach Rigby at Troy and Sean, at James Madison is like you have to have a relationship with your players. You have to pour time into them. And when things are going wrong or bad or you're not playing well, the answer typically is get closer to your players and figure out how to bond with them and get to a sort of mental connection and trust. Um, and that's been true again this year. Like when we've hit rocky spots, it's been time to invite them to the office for a coffee. It's been time to meet them off campus at Starbucks. It's been time to, for me to watch more individual film with them. For us to, I'm a big take a lap guy. So like when a player's having a tough day, we'll just we'll take a lap. We'll just walk. I like to walk. I'm European. We walk everywhere, right? So like sometimes we'll take a lap around the building and we'll just take laps. We'll take a lap around the court at the end of practice, we'll just take laps, we'll just talk, and we'll just talk it out. Like I'm also a big believer in let's talk about it. Let's just we got if we got problems, let's air them out. If we've got good things, let's talk about them. And make if we've got anything, let's just talk about it. And trying to teach them that communication solves and prevents a ton of problems. So yeah, that's just one main thing that I've tried to keep is I'm making more time for individual player meetings right now than ever before. I think that's helping us out a little bit.
I think you're so right. Communication, connection are two of the biggest things,
Yeah,
especially in today's day and age. And
yeah,
talk about. I'm sure when you came in, one of the very first things on your desk to take care of when you got the job was we need players. That you had to re-recruit players
yeah,
that you already had, and the incoming freshmen, and go out and find players in the portal. So coaches are only as great as I'm sure their players are. So when you had to go out and find players, what was kind of your approach or your philosophy when you had to first construct this roster when you first came in?
yeah. Good question. I, I think my number one pillar was I wanted players that first of all you try to put people around you that fit the type of person you want to bring in and be around, right? That's really important. We spend so much time together. And you do, as much research as you can in very limited time, and you try to bring in good people, right? So that was a priority. It was a priority for us to have people that are efficient shot makers, right? There's a lot of shot takers out there, right? We want
That's
shot
true.
makers. And the portal, we had conversations in the office as I was building a staff. That was another thing. I built a staff.
Yep.
But I had conversations of we're trying to not have small guards that shoot 26% from the field, right? And the portal is full of that. Um, so we brought in some players that had proven that they could make shots at a good rate in college, right? Whether it's junior college, I don't really care. Junior college, Division two, Division three, Division one. I think just be a shot maker. Um, and that's sort of what we had. Khadijah Torre was the first commitment that I got, which obviously, is leading
It's
the
a big
conference
one.
right now. Yeah, is leading the conference right now in points, rebounds, blocks, maybe field goal percentage too. So, and is one of the top 10 steals and assists. So all that for a post player is like really impressive. So knowing that I believe that she would be that person. So building people that could make threes around her, because I knew people were going to double her, which they are, was, you build around the centerpiece. Um, Keeping Janessa Williams on the team was a huge, huge priority for us, because she fits the philosophy of big guard, makes threes, can get to the rim, can play in the paint, can play in the post. Philosophy wise, that is what we would like to do moving forward. And plays with a toughness, plays with an edge. So building around those two, um, with people that can make shots, was a key. And I think until now, it's our offense has been pretty good. Um, I know we're one of the top in the league in that aspect, and not just numbers of points scored, but like efficiency is something that's really important to us.
And so it all started to fit, and LIU hasn't really had this semblance of success in the last 15 years or so. But I'm sure you had the vision right from the beginning with just talking about the way you wanted to construct your roster and the way you foresaw kind of building a winning type of team. So how did you know that this was the right fit for you and that it would be possible to kind of turn things around this quickly?
Um, like you said earlier in the interview, it's all players, right? It's like you cannot out coach a limited roster, right? Um, so I think I felt like I could recruit here. Like this location is amazing.
Sure.
I felt like there's already a couple teams here, on campus that are really, really successful. So it's not like it can't be done. Yeah, given the last 15 years, like you said, there's been a lack of sort of success. I knew it was going to take a lot, but I didn't for a second believe that it couldn't be done. I think we have people in this university that have um, high goals, and that's great because so did I. So I like the level of expectation. I like the level of vision that was already here, in administration. I think that's good, right? You want that. So I said, yeah, let's do this. Like I think we can win here. I don't think it should take too long. Whatever that ends up being this year, um, we'll see. But I felt like we could add some wins pretty quickly.
So we talked about some of the priorities, getting the staff and getting the right players, but I want to talk about your style for a second. I'm not talking about the style of play. I'm talking about like wardrobe because you have some really good wardrobe on the sidelines, and at some point you had to think when you're thinking about everything you need to do. I got to get stuff to wear as a head coach on the sideline, and at some point you thought, okay, our colors are light blue. I need to get like a light blue jacket. And like that is an amazing that is amazing attire you got there. So at what point in the process did you kind of think about what you were going to wear, and how did the light blue blazer kind of come into play?
Uh, well, I'm a shopper. I'm also cheap.
Okay.
So, like, if you want to save money, come shopping with me. I'm a big Ross and Burlington and Marshalls guy. So I don't mind balling on a budget on the sidelines. I like to find bargains. So, I have a bunch of outfits. I had the blue blazer before, or I guess it was
Wow.
it
Okay.
was in my destiny to coach here. It also helps that our colors are great. I think the LIU colors are really great. You can mix some sort of golds in there and blues in there, but you can also have some sort of tans and khakis. And so I had the blue blazer. I've bought another one since then. Um, I wore a perfect LIU blue suit to my one of my friend's weddings a few years ago. So I guess it was in my destiny to be here. and I'm happy to be here. But the colors are great, so
They
it
are.
makes it easy to go shopping. And of course, being in Brooklyn, you can shop on every corner. It doesn't not hard to find. But I appreciate the compliment. We try and stay sharp on the sidelines and at home games, and we go quarter zips on the road.
Okay, I was gonna say, we have the game coming up on ESPN Plus on Saturday at Stonehill. So for a TV game, I don't know, can we up it a little bit, or are we going quarter zips, or what do you think?
Yeah, you know what? I hadn't considered it, but I think you just gave us the answer. We have to pack a TV game outfit. Yeah,
Okay, all right.
look, at the same time though, like never too much, right? Like I joked with the staff today, if we make the NCAA tournament, I'm going to wear a tuxedo and a top hat.
Ooh.
Joking. No, I'm joking. No
No, you
way.
should
No
totally.
way. No way. Um, my first ever boss, Kylie Hill, I'll give you a lesson, who a dear friend, and without him, I wouldn't be here. But my first ever boss, I was a graduate assistant at Valdosta State, Division Two in Georgia, and he always told me, "Be sharp, but you're not there to be seen."
Okay, that's true.
So I like that. I like it's not about me. It's not. That's why you're not going to see any insane sideline outfits. But you know what? Dress professional, be sharp, be a good example for the players. But there's a line, right? You're not. It's not about me.
At the same time, though, LIU's played pretty well on the road, especially in conference play. So if you wear something different than you usually wear and then you don't win, I don't want to be responsible for that. So you do you. We'll see how it goes
And
on
I'll call
Saturday.
you. I will
I'm
call
sure
you.
you would.
Just kidding. Just kidding.
We'll see. We'll see how it goes. You do you. I wanted to kind of ask a little bit about analytics. How much, as a young coach, a new coach, do you kind of rely on that versus maybe relying on your gut or what you're seeing out there?
Great question. I, when I was with the Sparks, we had access to all these analytics, like really in depth. I mean, you can see, okay, we're playing Vegas, and we want to know on left elbow ISOs with Dearica Hamby as the primary defender and Asia Wilson, like what is the points per possession? I mean, you can go
You
that
go
in
that in
depth.
depth. Wow.
Absolutely. And that's really useful at that level where you're able to process and the players are able to understand and retain. And, I mean, if you make Asia take a third dribble, what's her points per possession? Does it go up or does it go down compared to if she takes just one or two dribbles? So, like, yeah, hey, Dearica, if you can make her take that third dribble, like her percentage goes down, whatever, right? That's awesome. But I think it's really important it has to be analytics that not only you and your staff can understand and apply, but your team. I mean, if you fill their
Yeah.
head with all these numbers, I think you can paralyze yourself and your team with over information. So we're not, plus those softwares are really, really, really expensive,
I'm
right?
sure.
So um, it's been a healthy balance that there's not a ton of analytics, and the NEC website is really good. Like the stats on the NEC website it is usually, you know, most of what you need to know between Synergy and the NEC website. I just think that really, what do we have to know? Right? How much do we have to know? What are the players able to think of in the heat of the moment? And are we slowing them down with information? But yeah, information is power. But you can't go too deep with it. You can't go too deep with it.
Is there anything, now that we're in February, getting ready to go to March, is there anything now that you wish you could kind of go back to the beginning over the spring and summer and kind of tell is there anything you learned now that you wish you knew back at the beginning?
How long have you got? Yes. There's a note section in my phone for that too. So much stuff. I a big a big key for me this year has been keeping them fresh mentally and physically. I know it's a long season. I know everybody's balancing a lot between school and life, and some of our players have pro aspirations and a lot of them don't, and that's okay. But I think when you have players with pro aspirations, you can coach them a little bit differently. Um, so I really wanted to avoid burnout physically and mentally. And I'll be honest with you, we haven't practiced that much. Right now, we've been hit with the injury bug, just like a lot of teams in this conference, and time on the court is quite low. And going all the way back to the summer, yeah, I wish I'd done a little bit more in the summer. And but we kept it light, we kept it fun, we kept it what was necessary. I wish I'd done a bit more. We don't mix up our defenses a lot. We never did put that, fun junkie zone in the summer that I thought I might. And you know what, maybe we should have, but I think our players are mentally in a good spot right now. Physically, a couple unlucky injuries, right? But I was really, really serious about, maybe call it being a player's coach, but like I just wanted them to be mentally and physically fresh in the second half of the season. And my good friend, Sacred Heart, Jess Minetti, she tells me every year, an assistant or whatever. Now she still tells me you either love or lose your team on January 30th. And if you lost them because they're exhausted or they're burned out or they're frustrated or whatever, if you lose them January 30th, it's over. So yeah, I do. I wish we'd done more of some things in the summer and in the preseason. But you know what? You live and learn, and maybe we're in a good spot right now because we didn't do too much.
Sure.
Maybe we would be in a better spot if we'd done more. I don't know. There's a couple losses pre-conference that still haunt me, but everything you learn from everything, right? And you just try your best each year. And next year I'll have more information and knowledge and lessons than I did a year ago. But that's what this is all about.
This has been so great getting to know Neil a little bit. First year head coach, well traveled. Putting together a program, all the kind of the insight and the mindset of a first year head coach, putting together a program and having some great success here in year one. Neil, we want to wrap up kind of on this. Like I said, it's been fun to watch your team all year long, and we look forward to watching you here. In this stretch run. What do you think is the key for your team to continue learning, continue improving, and to be the last team standing there cutting down the nets in March?
It's not a exciting answer, but health is key right now. I think every team is relying on staying healthy, and we're not we're not real healthy right now, and we're finding ways to win. And I really give the players credit because they're staying together, they're taking care of their bodies. We're, as the staff, we're doing as much as we can to keep things light. But yeah, it's health and chemistry, right? I think um, if your mind's in the right place and your body's in the right place, you'll have a chance. But we, again, cliche, sorry for the boring answer, but we're just focused on New Haven because that's next.
They're
And then
next.
when New Haven's done, it'll be Stonehill. So March will be there when it comes, but we're not thinking about the tournament right now. Um, we're just let's just try to win Thursday.
One last question that came to mind, with all the different hats that you have as a head coach, one of them is almost kind of like a promoter because, like I said, it's been a long time since LIU's been winning and there's been plenty to be excited about. It's a fun team to watch. So how do you kind of go about letting obviously doing interviews like this and people seeing it, I'm sure helps, but how do you go about kind of getting everybody excited? You got a winning team in Brooklyn, something special's going on here. Look at us. How do you kind of, let everybody in on the special thing that you have going on?
Great question. I think it's hard because you want to advocate for your program and your players. I mean, we've got some players doing some incredible things, and Khadijah's going to be in the running for Player of the Year. She's currently leading the conference in so many categories and gathering so much attention. Um, yeah, you want to continue to promote, right, and share, but you don't want to do too much, right? And truly for me, it is about them. Like they work really hard. They've come together. A lot of them have had a tough stretch in college, right, wherever they've been before, and a lot of them are on their last sort of rodeo. And I just want them to enjoy it. I want them to have a positive experience because this they have to be okay with this for the rest of life. And one really really cool part is that because we're creating new success, right? That hasn't been seen for a long time. Um, there's a new record more or less now with every win. We've had the best conference start in Sharks history. We've had last year this team didn't win a single game on the road, and right now we're over 500, and I think on the road, and that's a really special thing. There's I think this is like the best start in 20 years or something, and for this program. So yeah, there's so many really cool things. and they should be proud of themselves because they're the one putting the ball in the basket. They're the one rebounding the ball. They're the one creating this excitement. And it's really been nice. There's people all over campus that you don't know are hearing about it, but they bump into you in the hallway, they bump into you in the street, and they're starting to hear about it. And
Oh, that's
that's cool.
cool.
We're building it and we're getting people excited. But yeah, I'm proud of what we've done here in year one because I know some of these records are 15, 20 year or first time in program history records. So
Older than a
it
lot of all your players, pretty much.
we said that we said something. Nelson, our local guy that does he does a lot of the NEC stuff on Twitter. Like he posted something XYZ from 2000 best something since 2001 or 2002. I said, how many of y'all were born? And they said, not me,
Nobody.
coach. I was like, that's pretty cool. So yeah, it's been really nice. But again, like it's cool what we've done so far, but we're focused on like there's more to do. Like, can
Yeah.
we just build and build and build? You know, for us to be 8-2 on February 1st is awesome. But like, where do we want to be on February 20th, February 25th, you know, March 1st? Where do we want to be then? So again, eyes forward, eyes forward. Proud of what we've done, proud of the players. They again, they're doing this. They're coming together, and they're doing this. But yeah, eyes forward and eyes focused on what we're able to do here in the last sort of 5 weeks of the season.
Well, I'll try to help you out a little bit with the promotion. They're a fun team. They have a great first year coach. They're winning. It's a lot of it's very exciting in Brooklyn. So you know, come in and check them out. We look forward to following them here throughout February and into March. Neil, thank you so much for taking time for us and joining us today here on the latest NEC Hoops Coaches Call.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you.
So again, as you mentioned, you can see them against New Haven first on Thursday on NEC Front Row, and then Saturday, February 7th, 1 p.m. on ESPN Plus, an exclusive game against the Stonehill Skyhawks, our NEC Women's Basketball Game of the Week. I'm Craig D'Amico, and this has been the NEC Hoops Coaches Call.